In this video, we're going to talk about all of the best camera settings that you need to change on your brand new DJI Osmo Nano in order to get the most cinematic footage possible out of this camera. Because honestly, even though this camera is tiny, it's really capable of a lot. It has the exact same sensor as the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. And you're definitely gonna wanna stick around until the end of the video because there are some secret camera settings that no one is really telling you about, and I don't know why they're not turned on by default, that really takes the image quality of this camera to the next level. I actually have a vlog up on my channel already that was recorded entirely using the DJI Osmo Nano, just in case you're curious of what the camera output and what the camera quality looks like. Honestly, I think the images look incredibly cinematic and really beautiful to look at. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna swipe up from the bottom, and this is gonna take us to our resolutions and our frame rates, as well as our aspect ratios. Now, me personally, I'm filming every single thing in the 4K resolution. That's the highest resolution that's available on the camera. And then for the aspect ratio, I'm actually filming in 4:3. This lets you use the entire sensor, and it's kind of like open gate, so you'll get a much wider or bigger image out of the sensor, and it's more easy to repurpose for either landscape or horizontal video. It gives you more options and flexibility in post. Now, in terms of frame rates, you're gonna have a couple of different options. There's a large misconception that people just pick the highest frame rate, and that's definitely not accurate. You're gonna be able to pick from 3 different options here. Now, the first option is gonna be 24 frames per second. Now, me personally, this is what I film everything in because 24 frames per second is the most cinematic frame rate. This is what movies and TV shows that you consider to be cinematic are filmed in. So I go with 24 most of the time. Now, if you're filming social friendly content, like you just wanna make Instagram reels or TikToks with this camera, you're gonna wanna go ahead and choose 30 frames per second because those platforms natively run on 30 frames per second. Now, the only time you wanna go above this, and when I do it, I go with 50 frames per second, is if you wanna film anything in slow motion and you know that you're gonna wanna slow it down later in post when you're editing. So that's when you wanna use 50 frames per second. Me personally, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on 24 frames per second. Next up, if you tap on the top right where it says RS or wide, it might say something else for you, but if you tap on that, you can then go ahead and select your camera angle as well as your stabilization level. Now, for stabilization, I always have rock steady on, so that's on the left. You can also turn this off, but it's gonna make your image super unstable, so I definitely recommend you leave rock steady on. And then for your field of view or camera angle, I always leave this on wide. There's a standard one and it says it's dewarped, but personally, I really like wide. I feel like it's more dewarped than the actual standard, and the image just looks a lot more natural, which is why I go with wide. Okay, now once we're done setting up those settings, you're gonna wanna come back to the main screen, and then you just wanna tap on these settings or these gear icons in the left. Now, typically your exposure is gonna be set to automatic by default. You wanna go ahead and tap on this, and you wanna change this to manual. Now, this is gonna give you manual control settings over your camera, which is gonna allow you to get that really nice cinematic feel and look. Now, for your shutter speed, you're gonna want this to be double your frame rate. So your shutter speed is on the left, and it'll be double your frame rate. So for example, if you're shooting in 24 frames per second, you wanna double that 24, you get 48, and you just wanna get as close as possible. So over here is gonna be 1/50. Similarly, if you're shooting in 30 frames per second, you're gonna shoot in 1/60. And if you're shooting in 50 frames per second, you're gonna wanna shoot in 1/100. Now, once you have your shutter speed set up, the next thing you're gonna wanna set up is your ISO. Now, you're gonna have a bunch of different options on the right side here. Personally, I scroll all the way to the top and I select 100 to 800. Now, what this does is that it allows the camera to automatically pick an ISO between 100 and 800, which is great for me because 800 is really the breaking point on most DJI action cameras. Anything past 800 starts to introduce a lot of noise into your image, but anything between 100 to 800, you're generally safe. And I want the image to be properly exposed if the lighting environment is changing a lot, which is why I leave it on this semi-automatic mode. Now, there is a chance that once you change these camera settings, your image is gonna look super overexposed depending on where you're shooting. Now, if this happens to you, you're gonna need something called ND filters. Now, DJI does make their own, but they've been sold out for a hot minute and they're really hard to get. But my buddy John, and I'll leave his YouTube linked below or somewhere here, figured out that if you actually buy the KNF ND filters for the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, the ones that screw in, you can actually get them to screw onto the DJI Osmo Nano, and they do fit. Next up, we have white balance, and honestly, I just leave the white balance on automatic for most DJI cameras. I think they do a fantastic job. Now, real quick, before we continue with our camera settings, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, which is Artlist. Now, for those of you that have been around the channel for a while, you know that Artlist has been a long-standing sponsor of the channel, and lately I've been loving using their new AI image generation tools, specifically the Nano Banana model, to create some of the thumbnails that you've seen on this channel. So real quick, once I come into Artlist, I just simply head down to AI image, and then if I go to my creations, you'll see all of the creations that I've made in their image generation model. And here you'll see tons of variations of different thumbnails that I've created for all of my different YouTube videos. And you're gonna see that I've done a lot of different versions because I just wanna see all the different options that Nano Banana can spit out for me. And here, I'm gonna show you the 3 thumbnails that I was working with for this video. So I had this thumbnail, and sorry, that's a finished product. And I also had this thumbnail. So these are the 3 thumbnails that I was working with. And the way that I got to my final thumbnails, which is this one, and this one right here, was all using Artlist. So I just go into their image to image model here, and then I already have an image inserted here, but basically I'll just click the plus here, and then I'll grab my original thumbnail, and then I'll type in some kind of prompt. Now I already know what prompt works for this image, so I'll just paste it in here. And I'm basically asking Nano Banana to add a nice and cool overlay on top of the camera. And then I'll just simply hit generate, and then Artlist will do its thing and it'll spit out a really nice version of the thumbnail. Now you can do this as many times as you want until you get a version that you're happy with. But yeah, that's how I've been using the Artlist AI image generation models and Nano Banana to make my thumbnails pop a lot more on YouTube, which we all know is really important for that CTR. So if you're interested in making your own thumbnails pop as well, there will definitely be a link in the description below for you to use Artlist today. Now let's get back to our camera settings. Next up, we have color, which is my favorite part of this camera. And there are some specific color options that you have here. So you have normal 8-bit color, normal 10-bit color, and D-Log M 10-bit color. Now personally, I shoot everything in D-Log M 10-bit because it gives me the flexibility of being able to change my colors in post. Now obviously this does come with the caveat that you need to know how to color grade your footage. And if you're a beginner and you don't know how to color grade your footage, well, I've got some good news and some bad news for you, depending on how you look at it. I'm actually gonna be making my DJI Osmo Nano LUT available for sale, and it's only going to be $5, and it's going to have the transformation LUT built in as well for the DJI Osmo Nano. So you literally just need to drag it into your editor, throw it on. It's a one-click solution. And this is the LUT that I used for every single clip on my vlog, in the vlog that I filmed, the DJI Osmo Nano Day in the Life, where everyone was asking me how I colored those clips and how I got them to look so good. So if you're interested in getting the exact same look, I will have those LUTs available in my store, and the link will be in the description as well. Now, if you decide that you don't want to learn how to color grade, but you still want that 10-bit higher quality depth footage, then there is an option to select normal 10-bit, and it basically takes care of all of the color grading for you while still providing you with a more natural and more rich color tone. So if that's you, go ahead and select normal 10-bit. But if you want to go ahead and color grade your footage, you definitely want to be using D-Log M 10-bit. Now, the final adjustment you want to make is you want to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see image adjustment. Now here you have texture and noise reduction. Texture is just basically sharpness, and I actually dial this down all the way down to -2 because I want to take away all of that digital sharpening, and I want my image to look as natural and as cinematic as possible. Remember, it's always possible to add sharpness later. It's very difficult to take it away. And as for noise reduction, I just set that to -1 because I do like a little bit of noise reduction built into the camera, especially when you're at those higher ISOs, but I don't want it to be overbearing. So -1 I find is a sweet spot. Now, real quick, the last setting you want to change on your DJI Osmo Nano, which is that secret setting that I told you to stick around for until the end, is that if you swipe down from the top and then you click on the settings gear icon on the first page, and then you just scroll down until you find bitrate. You want to go ahead and change your bitrate from standard to high. It's going to be standard by default. I don't know why. I think DJI does this depending on if you have a memory card that can't handle the higher bitrate. But if your memory card can handle it, definitely switch to high. You're going to get a lot more detail and a lot more data in your image, which is going to be essential in you getting the maximum quality out of this camera for cinematic footage. And that's it. Those are the best cinematic camera settings that you need to change on your brand new DJI Osmo Nano in order to get the best possible quality out of this camera. So hopefully you got what you were looking for from this video, and you're gonna be out there really soon shooting incredible video with this camera. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, keep creating.